The biggest reason your woodworking projects don't turn out the way you imagined isn't your skill. It's the plan you're following. Most DIY woodworking plans look complete at first glance. Clean diagrams, nice photos, a materials list that seems detailed enough. Everything gives the impression that if you just follow the steps, you'll end up with a solid, finished piece. But somewhere around the middle of the build, things start to break down. A measurement doesn't quite match the diagram. A step jumps ahead without explaining what happened in between. You're suddenly trying to connect pieces that don't align the way they should. And that's usually the moment when doubt creeps in. You start wondering if you measured wrong, if you cut something incorrectly, if maybe you just don't have the experience yet to pull it off. So you double-check everything. You remeasure. You adjust. Sometimes you even restart parts of the project. But the deeper you go, the more things feel slightly off. And what makes this frustrating isn't just the mistake itself. It's how subtle it is. Most bad woodworking plans don't fail in obvious ways. They fail in small, almost invisible gaps. A missing step that assumes you already know what to do. A diagram that shows the final result but not the process to get there. A materials list that's technically close, but not precise enough to avoid waste. Individually, these don't seem like major problems. But together, they create a kind of friction that builds up as you work. You spend more time stopping, thinking, second-guessing, than actually building. And over time, that friction adds up to something bigger. Projects take longer than expected. Materials get wasted. Confidence starts to drop. That's why so many people end up with half-finished builds sitting in their garage or workshop. Not because they lack ability, but because the process keeps breaking down in ways that aren't immediately obvious. At first, it's easy to blame execution. Maybe the cuts weren't precise enough. Maybe the tools aren't good enough. Maybe more experience is needed. Those explanations feel logical. They're also the most common ones. But they focus on the visible part of the problem. The part you can see while you're working. They don't address what's happening underneath. Because the real issue isn't that people don't know how to build. It's that the instructions they're following weren't designed to be followed all the way through. Most DIY plans are created to show what a finished project looks like, not to guide someone step by step through building it. They're closer to visual references than actual systems. And that difference matters more than it seems. Think about it like assembling something without knowing the exact order. You might have all the right pieces. You might even understand what the final result should look like. But if the sequence is off, even slightly, things stop fitting together the way they should. That's where most frustration comes from. Not from lack of effort, but from lack of structure. The real issue isn't your ability to build. It's the absence of a clear, complete path from the first cut to the final assembly. Once you see that, a lot of things start to make more sense. Why some projects feel smooth from start to finish, while others feel confusing halfway through. Why certain builds seem to just work, even if they're more complex. And why having the right level of detail, not just more information, but the right kind, changes the entire experience. When a plan is built around the process, not just the outcome, everything shifts. You spend less time interpreting and more time executing. You make fewer corrections because fewer things go wrong in the first place. And instead of constantly questioning your next move, you move forward with clarity. That doesn't mean every project becomes easy, but it does mean the difficulty comes from the build itself, not from trying to figure out what the plan meant. And that's a very different experience. If you're interested, there's a structured breakdown in the description that shows how complete, step-by-step plans are organized to eliminate these gaps. It walks through what to look for, how to evaluate a plan before you start, and why certain details make such a difference once you're in the middle of a build. You can take a look at it if you want to go deeper. And if you want more breakdowns like this, practical, straightforward, and focused on how things actually work, consider subscribing. That's it for now.